Okay, let me get this straight. So you guys wanted a space MMO with large capital ships, giant fleets, space battles. You wanted exploration, resources and crafting, landing on asteroids, factions, trading ships, freighters, large battles where you can choose sides, ambient NPC ship, ringed planets, gas giants, a more open way of flying between solar systems, unique handling ships, the ability to play the game in a non-combative role like a trader or a pilot or an explorer, large structures, large crash ships, structures with moving parts, and of course, last but not least, good combat. Why the heck were you guys looking at No Man's Sky? You know Star Citizen exists, right? Alright, now before you guys go crazy on me, let's talk about what's already in the game, what's on the horizon, what we know is coming out soon, and if there are unexpected changes, where they could possibly happen. For a long time, we weren't even sure how planets would work in Star Citizen. We weren't sure if they would be instanced, we didn't know if there would be space to planet transitions, and we truly didn't know how much of the planet we were going to be able to explore. After Star Citizen showed their 3.0 demo at Gamescom, it's clear now that entire planets are in the game, that you can go anywhere on the planet and land anywhere. Unlike No Man's Sky, these are a mix of procedural generation and handcrafted areas. We've known since the very beginning that this is going to be an MMO. And since the very first builds of the Persistent Universe, which is what we're calling the beginning of the MMO, it is the first server-based area where everyone can interact together in a multiplayer environment that is not the dogfighting mode, Arena Commander, which are all instanced. We already know that this is implemented into the game. We already know the basic framework of how the missions are going to work. We know how we're going to accept the missions, and we know how we're going to complete the missions. Star Citizen started with a core fundamental of solid flight mechanics, enjoyable, engaging, and exhilarating space combat. In my opinion, there is no game currently that can rival the dogfighting that exists in Star Citizen. Most people that know very little about the game have only seen this far. In fact, that was the allure of No Man's Sky for a lot of people over games like Elite Dangerous that already are out there, is that the combat was not important to them. What they wanted was the awe of space, the exploration, the crafting, the discovery. Now, most people don't understand that these are going to exist in Star Citizen. While they are not in the current build of the game, professions will be implemented. This is not an if or maybe or a No Man's Sky promise. They will be in the game, and it will be a core function of the game. Judging by Star Citizen's past updates, we have no reason to believe that the main features of 3.0 will not be implemented as advertised. Whether they meet their exact release date for it is up in the air, but I believe it's the general consensus in the Star Citizen community that it's better to take your time and do it right than to push something out unfinished. With 3.0, we get our very first look at planets. Everything from the flight in to the breaking of the atmosphere is gorgeous, realistic, and seamless. We also know that space stations are not instanced. In normal games, when you would enter a building, like in Skyrim, when you would enter a town, you actually load a separate world that is only that town. And if you look out a window or look outside of the town, it only looks like that's actually outside, when in fact, you have to reload and re-enter that world once you exit the town or building. We know this is not the case in Star Citizen, as in the 3.0 demo, they show someone enter a space station while their pilot stays outside, and both the person inside and the pilot can see each other through the glass in the space station all the way through. Simply by looking at this video, you can see the level of detail put into every single piece of this game, from the heads-up display to the switches in the cockpit to the screens to the character models. Everything is of the highest quality, and so too is the development of this game. Now, what many of you may not know if you've only watched the videos and haven't played in the game is a function that was released in an earlier build actually lets you customize each individual screen that's on your cockpit HUD. Where you want to put your fuel, where you want to put your map, where you want to put your weapons indicators, your power consumption. All the screens can be changed and customized. This goes without saying that we already have a fantastic FPS mode implemented in Star Citizen. While the Space Marine module isn't coming out yet, which is basically something like Call of Duty deathmatches, you can already engage in combat in the open world. There are punishment and restrictions for where and when you can do this, but the point is you already can. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, this is just hyping the game up again, but the difference here is, unlike No Man's Sky, we have an unprecedented level of access into the development of this game. Every piece, every part, because we have funded the creation of this game. It's not like a AAA game where they're funded by a company and they get to develop everything on their budget and they have a time frame that they have to complete everything in. We are the investors. We are the ones who have driven the development of this game. So of course it only makes sense to let us know what they're doing with our money. In No Man's Sky, reviewers were not even allowed a copy of the game until after launch. With Star Citizen, we get to play each version of each build as it's being developed. And if something isn't there or is missing, guess what? We'll notice and we'll say something, and they will not be able to ignore us, nor would they. Chris Roberts and CIG have already established fantastic communication with its fan base and customers. But with that being said, do I think that every single thing that has been talked about to be implemented into Star Citizen will make it into the final build? Probably not. This is a super ambitious game with development plans that go decades into the future. As far as I'm aware, CIG is not interested in making another game after Star Citizen. They are going to be making Star Citizen and working on Star Citizen indefinitely. Now on to the final thing that we definitely already have in this game is unique and realistic flight characteristics for different ships. Now I've flown at least 8 or 9 different ships at this point, and I will say that each one in space already definitely handles differently, and they each have their own personality. They definitely fly specific ways that make sense to whatever type of ship they are. And another announcement with 3.0 is that ships will have different atmospheric flight characteristics based on their design. So a ship that has wings will actually fly better and produce better lift and handle better in the atmosphere than a ship without wings. We already have ships from single-seater racers to multi-crew pirate ships all the way up to fully habitable exploring vessels. One of the most recent medium ships is large enough to be its own FPS level inside. And that's a medium ship. We're not even talking about the large ones, let alone the capital ships. And what's even more amazing about all of this is our level of interaction with these large vehicles. For example, say there is a Bengal-class carrier that you know of. If you have a group of people and you have a plan to be able to pull this off, you can theoretically hijack and steal that carrier from whoever owns it. Like, no joke, you're going to be able to do that. Pirating is going to be a huge part of this game, so yes, with confidence, absolutely, I can say that will be possible. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be able to hijack NPC ships. My hands are up in the air on that one. But if it is owned by another person, I already know that that will be stealable. You're going to have to do some serious black market washing with that, and it's probably going to cost you a pretty penny or million. But hey, you can do it. We already know a little of how exploration and trading are going to work. For exploration, we will have a known systems galaxy map, all the current charted star systems and planets that we currently know of. Upon release, and explorers start going out into the galaxy, when new planets get discovered, they will be added to the map. I am also aware that things will get named after your character in certain ways after you discover them. Now, I'm not going to go off the rails and start making assumptions about what you can and can't name. Things like jump points and asteroid belts have already been pointed to as possible things that could receive a character's name in the long term. Now, if at this point you're saying, you know, a lot of this really does sound like what was promised in No Man's Sky, you're absolutely correct. A lot of people have pointed to the possibility that No Man's Sky was pushed out early in an attempt to beat Star Citizen before they have a chance to finish their game. We also know that trading and resource gathering will be a core part of the gameplay. We know this because of cargo ships, trading vessels, merchant ships, and even mining vessels have already been sold. In the end, the real question is not if Star Citizen will be a huge hit. The real question is when is it going to come out and how much time am I going to have to play it? Because I can promise you that Chris Roberts is going to deliver, that this project is being watched too closely by too many people, that each question and concern that gets raised about the game gets seemingly destroyed and disappears after Chris Roberts addresses it. Now, once again, I can't promise that every little thing that has been said about the game will be in the final release. But what I can tell you is this game is going to be fun, it's going to be worthwhile, and you should definitely check it out, because I know already in an alpha state, in a barely put together game, I have already had so much fun just learning how to fly the different ships and playing with them. Now, I understand that the game is very limited in access right now, but several times a year they do a free fly program where you can go into the game, check everything out, and you get a handful of ships that you can play for free for a week or two, and they do this several times a year. The most recent Free Fly Week just ended after Gamescom, but I will guarantee there will be another one before the end of the year, probably around Christmas. They also do ship sales around there. Now, understand, if you haven't bought a ship yet and you are considering it, please understand that you do not need to buy some crazy ship in the beginning. You can get the very base ship. This will get you into the game, and once you're into the game, every single ship is earnable easily through credits. You are not obligated in any way to spend these hundreds of dollars to get these ships. This is simply an option right now so that people have some cool things to look at in their hangars as they support the development of this game. The goal of the money is the development of the game. A lot of people think that people are paying $10,000 for a game. No, they're not. They're paying $10,000 to invest in the development of a game that they want to see happen that otherwise wouldn't get made. I think that's where a lot of people are really confused here. They don't see the difference between what Star Citizen is doing and what other AAA games have done. This is being entirely funded by the people, and without those people that have that kind of disposable money, this game would probably not be where it's at. Just the same as if a developer says, well, this is the release date, and if you go past this release date in your development, you're going to be wasting X amount of money, and we can't have that. So remove features that you're having problems with and release it out, which happens pretty frequently nowadays if you didn't know. So basically what I'm trying to say, you guys, is if you were disappointed with No Man's Sky, just wait a little bit longer. I promise you, Star Citizen is what you guys are looking for. You just have to wait a little bit longer. 3.0 will definitely be out by the end of this year. We have the possibility of Squadron 42 coming out by the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year. So alright guys, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you so much. I know it was a really long video today. If you're watching to this point, you're awesome. Thank you. Hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you like these long rants, if you like me talking a long time, or if you'd rather have something different. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And as always, take it easy, and I will see you next time.